Within the last hour, we've heard from President Trump about the 737 MAX, sending out a tweet with basically his opinion of where the situation lies with this plane and what should be done. What do I know about branding, the president tweeted? Maybe nothing, but I did become president. But if I were Boeing, I would fix the Boeing 737 MAX, add some additional great features, and rebrand the plane with a new name. No product has suffered like this one, but again, what the hell do I know? Well, here's what we do know about the MAX. American Airlines announcing yesterday that it will be pulling the MAX off of its schedule at least until August 19th. That's 115 flights per day, about 1.5% of American's summer schedule. In making this announcement, Doug Parker, CEO of American, along with Robert Isom, the president of the airline, said, "We are highly confident that the MAX will be recertified prior to this time, prior to August 19th. And if that were the case, maybe it comes back to recertification in July, then they could gradually move it into the fleet sooner than August 19th. Take a look at shares of American. They're going to be reporting earnings next week. For the most part, you see a lot of these airline stocks that have moved higher within the last week and a half. I think the market has pretty much baked into the expectations that they're going to see some lower revenue for the second quarter going into the third quarter. I'm showing you United because it also flies the MAX. It still has it out of the schedule at least until, I think, May 31st. Don't be surprised if tomorrow when the company reports earnings after the bell, guys, that United says, okay, you know what, we've looked at our schedule at the MAX. We're going to extend it out like everybody else.
Hey, Phil, what do you think of what the president online on Twitter saying, look, from a marketing perspective, they need to change the name. My understanding is that they change the name, then they have to go through a whole new certification. Could he upend that whole process and say, look, FAA, you can change the name of this plane? And then there's going to be arguments about whether there's deceptive advertising here or some kind of, masking the issues underneath it. What's your take?
I think that even if they were to, let's say they forced this through and they said, look, let's make a special exception for Boeing that they can rename this plane. We won't have to worry about any of the regulatory issues that are out there. I still think that when this plane starts coming back, whether you call it the MAX, whether you call it Boeing's new bird, whatever you call it, there's going to be a stigma, at least initially, Andrew. Now, does it last? Historically, when there have been airline accidents, whatever the model has been, that stigma doesn't last for very long. It goes away. Eventually, people are like, whatever, I'm on this flight and it leaves at 7:30. Great, I'm off. There's going to be a stigma with this plane. To what degree remains to be seen.
The comparable period, though, Phil, was not, you're not using the Dreamliner as an example of that. It's actually
no, we're using
plane.
all of them. In fact, if you go back and if you look at research over the last 30 years, we were talking with Jamie Baker from J.P. Morgan about this. He said, look, you go over the last 30 years, regardless of the model, after there has been a very high-profile accident with dozens of fatalities or hundreds of fatalities, whatever it is, the stigma does not last for very long. Now, having said that, Melissa, all of those happened in a pre-social media age.
Right.
Now we're in an age where somebody sends out a tweet or something on Instagram or on Facebook and says, hey, guess what? I'm flying to L.A. today, and I'm on the MAX. And then it takes off. You know, people start saying, well, don't go on the MAX. That's a dangerous flight. That's going to be the hurdle for Boeing.